In theory, Vauxhall's Mokka-e ticks a lot of boxes. Small, fashionable SUVs are the market's primary growth area at present, and of course everyone's talking about EVs. This one gets trendy looks, proven underpinnings, and a drivetrain claiming up to 209 miles of range. It's the sort of electric model that ought to find a ready audience.
Unlike some volume rivals who are tinkering around the edges of electrification with mild hybrid technology, Vauxhall is fully committed to the electric revolution, and we mean the full electric revolution. We've already had the Corsa-e supermini and EV versions of the brands Vivaro and Combo Life people carriers. Now there's this car, the Mokka-e small SUV, which ought to be the brand's most important EV yet. The looks and the cabin architecture, both a big step forward from previous Mokka models, are of course bespoke to Vauxhall, but at first glance at least, just about everything else here we've seen before in the Corsa-e and in the two Stellantis Group small crossover models which share this one's engineering, the Peugeot E2008 and the DS3 Crossback E-Tense. The Griffin brand though claims to have subtly evolved its version of this fashionable recipe. So let's take a look. A click on the start button is accompanied by a beep and an illumination of the instrument panel, which includes a green ready signal. So, time to see if this little EV is as energetic as it looks. Well, it doesn't feel quite as urgent away from rest as its Corsa-e showroom stablemate, but it's not slow. 62 from rest takes 9.2 seconds. It does share all the same mechanicals that you'll find in that EV Supermini though. 50 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery mated to a 100 kilowatt electric motor, putting out 136 PS and working through the same single-speed auto transmission you get with all EVs. Unlike all electric vehicles, this one does have a bit of a weight problem. The drivetrain adds over 300 kilos of bulk, but that arguably helps this Mokka-e when it comes to ride quality. You'll feel things like speed humps keenly, but at speed on the open road, it handles tarmac tears a bit better than its combustion cousins. Vauxhall claims an operating range of 209 miles, although you only get anywhere near that if you engage a rather restrictive eco drive setting that drops power output right down to 83 PS. You certainly won't achieve anything like that kind of range if you get anywhere near to this EV's quoted top speed of 93 miles an hour, or if you habitually drive your Mokka-e in the sports setting, which will be necessary to release the full 136 PS power output that I just mentioned. There's very light steering, which of course you'll need to get used to, and a button to increase brake regeneration, which will charge the battery as you brake or cruise and eke out that all-important driving range. There aren't any significant visual changes marking this Mokka-e apart from its fossil-fuelled showroom stablemate, so unless your neighbours spot the charging flap, the lack of an exhaust pipe or the special badging, then you're going to be able to complete your switch into EV motoring without attracting any undue attention. This Mark II Mokka design certainly has more assertive front-end treatment. It's highlighted by the so-called Vauxhall visor look, which is made up of bold nose treatment featuring ultra-slim LED daytime running lights. Behind the wheel, this Gallic-influenced design is of course nothing like the previous Korean-sourced Mokka models. There are no conventional gauges, there's just a digital instrument display which is 7 or 12 inches depending on spec, and that works in conjunction with a central infotainment monitor which is either 7 or 10 inches depending on trim. That's angled towards the driver. The layout uses what is called pure panel design to make the two screens look like one long display. Predictably, materials quality is of a much higher grade than the old model. But space in the back isn't much different. It's much better than you get in the Corsa, but that's not saying much. Other segment rivals offer more legroom, although not that much more. The 310-litre boot is 40 litres smaller than the combustion engine Mokka model. Fold the rear bench and there's 1,060 litres of capacity. prices after subtraction of the £1,500 government grant sit in the £29,500 to £30,500 bracket, and the trim levels on offer are familiar Vauxhall ones, SE, SRI, Elite and Ultimate. For reference, you're looking at needing to find a premium of around £2,000 for one of these over an equivalently specified 1.2 litre 130 PS automatic petrol model. Even base SE premium spec gets you 16-inch silver alloy wheels, LED headlights with high beam assist, LED tail lights and auto headlamps and wipers. Inside, through the flat-bottomed leather-covered steering wheel, you'll view a 7-inch digital instrument cluster, plus there's an automatic anti-dazzle rear-view mirror and electronic climate control. You also get rear parking distance sensors, a panoramic rear-view camera and an ultrasonic security alarm system. Infotainment is taken care of by a multimedia Navi system with a 7-inch screen which incorporates satellite navigation, a 6-speaker DAB audio system, Bluetooth audio streaming and Apple CarPlay, Android Auto smartphone integration. If you make the step up to SRI premium trim, you'll get larger 18-inch wheels, a contrast-coloured roof and bigger screens, 12 inches for the instrument cluster and 10 inches for the central dash monitor. The spec of this Elite premium model, this is similar, but it's just a touch less sporty. And with top spec Ultimate trim, there's leather upholstery, and that has a massaging function for the driver's seat. Safety kit fitted as standard across the range includes forward collision alert, automatic emergency city braking, driver drowsiness alert, speed sign recognition and lane departure warning with lane keep assist. There's also cruise control with a speed limiter. We mentioned earlier that the Mokka-e will cover a 209-mile WLTP rated range. The powertrain can support most domestic charging standards as well as most commercially offered DC rapid charging systems too. It has support for up to 3-phase 11 kilowatt charging in AC mode for home use and 100 kilowatt DC capability, that's standard, allowing the car to be replenished at a DC 100 kilowatt public charger to over 80% capacity in under half an hour. If you have access to a 3-phase electricity supply, you can pay more to get the Mokka-e's standard 7.4 kilowatt onboard charger upgraded to 11 kilowatt spec. If you do that and you can find a 22 kilowatt accelerated public charger, you can reduce the replenishment time to as little as 3 hours and 20 minutes. Most owners though will stick with the standard 7.4 kilowatt package and use a 7 kilowatt wall box installed in their garage to complete a full charge from empty in 7.5 hours. Unlike some other brands, Vauxhall doesn't throw in that wall box free with purchase, but the company does offer customers a subsidised 7 kilowatt home charging unit from Pod Point for just £299. Either way, you're going to need something, because plugging into a domestic 3-pin socket, that would require 21 hours and 45 minutes for a complete charge. What else? Well, Vauxhall being a mainstream brand, residual values aren't quite as strong as, for example, you get from a rival BMW i3, but the Mokka claws back an advantage with its modest cost of options and very affordable servicing that you can budget for with a range of prepaid servicing plans. There is an unremarkable but potentially extendable 3-year 60,000 mile warranty. It's hard to recognise this generation Mokka from the Korean Mark I design launched back in 2012, which trundled around on an old-fashioned chassis and used thirsty petrol engines. These days, the Mokka is a thoroughly modern product, and this Mokka-e demonstrates just how modern. The competition in this segment, though, is tough, and if you've cast your net about in this class, you'll know that it can't go quite as far on a single charge as its Korean rivals, nor is it quite as engaging to drive as the Japanese Mazda MX-30. And of course, it doesn't really offer anything fundamentally very different from its Stellantis group cousins, the Peugeot E2008 and the DS3 Crossback E-Tense. For all that, though, we can see plenty of browsing Vauxhall showroom customers being quite seduced by what's on offer here. There's just enough driving range to be practical, just enough style to fit in at the gym, and there's just enough value to make the switch to an EV possible on monthly finance. Just enough of everything then for Vauxhall to get a toehold in this important sector.